We're good. The camera didn't poop out this time. We're good.
That's great.
Welcome to Live Forever Young Radio Live. I am Raleigh. This is my friend Bob as usual. We are here to hang out.
Hey, good to see you again, Raleigh.
Good to see you too.
After the weekend.
Hey man, it was a good weekend. We actually got a little bit of rain in Florida.
Got some rain that we needed, and
we've been dehydrated down in Florida.
That's right.
We've had almost the whole month of May. We didn't get any rain. And then we just got deluged on the first couple of days of June. So that kind of helps, you know.
It's good.
If you notice, when the ground gets that dry, it can't absorb the water. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like in my backyard, even though it was like not a flood zone, I had like this much water. Yeah. It was like, wow. And sometimes, you know,
it used to percolate down in.
Yeah. Sometimes if the water is not in the ground, I saw a thing on the news. They actually took a glass of water and they had really wet, nice saturated area. And they had a really dry area. And they took the water cup and they flipped it upside down on both. And on the dry one, the water stayed at the top for a very long time. But on the moisturized grass area, it soaked right down, just like. So it's funny, you know, I bring this up, obviously, because today we are talking about staying hydrated for your health, right? And when you don't get enough water, the things that can happen to your body and how you can get enough water. And a secret thing you might not realize is actually very helpful for hydrating. And we'll talk about alkalinity and alkaline water, right? Yeah. A lot of people think alkaline water is a great thing, and it can be, but you got to use it right? Yeah. All right. So anyway, I was looking through. I found one of our old blogs. So you can read this whole blog on our website at boomerboost.com. It's called Hydration. How much water do you really need, right? And we looked it up. The FDA recommends that we drink about 8-ounce glasses of water daily to stay hydrated. They call that the 8x8 rule. You drink that much water a day?
I would say honestly, some days I do, and some days I don't. I think that there are a lot of factors that go into how much water a given individual needs. Obviously, the size of the person.
Right.
And also how much physical activity. Mm-hmm. Because if you're sweating from physical activity, you're going to need a lot more.
Right.
If you're not, then you're not going to need quite as much. But it is a fact that the human body uses up water during the day, and we excrete water. Humans are about 70% water. So if we have to continuously take in water because we're continuously losing water with every breath. So we are losing water when we breathe. And we're also losing water through our skin. Even though we're not feeling hot, our skin is evaporating water from our body. And of course, every time you use the bathroom, you are excreting water. Mm-hmm. And most of your excretion comes from urine, but a good amount comes from your breath, your skin, your feces. And
I remember when I was in was it high school, or maybe it was 8th grade, we were talking about sweating in science class. And the question was, does sweating help you cool down? And I was like, oh, no, sweating's when you're really hot. You know, I was like, no, it doesn't help you cool down. So I wrote on the test, no, it doesn't. And then the teacher was like, no, it does. And I'm like, how does that even work? You know, and so at that age, I wasn't quite aware that what happens is, you know, you sweat and then you evaporate. And that whole process of that is what actually tries to help keep you cool.
Yeah.
And so just as a young kid thinking, well, no, when you sweat, you're hot. So no, it doesn't help you cool down. It means you're hot. And so when you think about that, even when we're not really being physical, or even maybe if we're just in a warm environment, you know, sometimes you feel like, ooh, but you're not sweating, but that you can kind of feel that your pores are doing something. Yeah. And so that sensation is that little bit of what you're talking about. Even when you're not running and profusely sweating, you've got sweat that's coming out that's helping to regulate body temperature, and that relies obviously on water and salt and sodium and stuff. So it's crazy. When I got older and I was working here in Florida, I would never drink enough water. I was doing utility work, and I would think I'd drink enough water, but I would sweat so profusely, and I'm fair skinned and light eyes and light hair, that I'd be outside digging holes, and like there were at least 3 occasions where I almost fell out from heat stroke. I had to go sit in the truck, and even then I was like, I couldn't do anything for the rest of the day. And so I actually ended up, after that happened like 3 times, I actually got let go by the company, and they called me in and they were like, well, man, we're not going to be able to use you anymore. And I'm like, why? They're like, well, you had a lot of incidents where you got too dehydrated and everything. And I was like, yeah, but I'm still working. They're like, no, you're a hard worker. Actually, that's kind of the problem. You work a little too hard, man. You got to like pace yourself and slow down, take better care, drink more water. And so they actually let me go, which is probably the best thing that ever happened, because then a couple of years later, I started working here. You know, I didn't want to be digging holes in Florida forever. But yeah, when you're that physical, and when you're out and you're relying on something like your body to regulate the temperature, and you're not in an environment with air conditioning, it's really quite strange. And it's, for me, it was an eye opener. I was like, my gosh, man. I was like, I lost my job because I wasn't drinking enough water. You know what I mean? Like,
that's amazing.
So anyway, that's an aside. So one of the things for me, like a lot of people, it's hard to drink that much water, right? Like, I don't want to sit there and drink that much water constantly. So a couple of things we have to kind of make it easy to remember, or kind of how to, make drinking that much water easier, is infuse it with herbs and vegetables. And like my daughter does this. She loves drinking it with lemon, a little bit of lemon water in there, and it gives it some flavor. And that lemon also has health benefits for it. I don't know if you've ever tried, but cucumber and lime in water.
Good stuff.
I've had that before, and it is delicious. So,
and it helps, because if you're just drinking straight water, it drops very quickly out of your stomach into your intestines, and not all of it gets absorbed the way you want. And also you end up urinating quite a bit, so frequently that it's really not ideal. You want the water to be absorbed more slowly, so it can be utilized in many different ways, not just to pass through your kidneys for detoxification.
Right.
You need the water to make its way into your cells, and it needs to move in and out of your cells, and it needs to be in your lymph system. It makes up a good part of your blood plasma, which carries your nutrients. So water does many different things, and it's constantly moving from one place to another. It's more concentrated in certain parts of your body than others, and it's moving in and out of cells to extracellular fluid, interstitial fluid. And so it's a constant motion. And there's factors that need to be considered for the absorption of water so it can be utilized in metabolic pathways.
Absolutely. One of the things we were looking at, I want you to talk a little bit about it, because it's something that you wouldn't think of. But we were kind of looking at some articles about this, and I found something about how water may not be the best thing to hydrate with. And I was like, what? And so we were looking it over. And so when you look and you reach for a glass of water, right? That's the most common thing. And like Bob was saying, a lot of the times it can pass through you pretty quickly because there's no nutrients, or there's no like protein in there. It's just water, right? And so there's this research done in Scotland at St. Andrews University that compared the hydration responses of several different drinks. And researchers found that while water, still and sparkling, which my daughter drinks a lot of sparkling water too, does a pretty good job of quickly hydrating the body, beverages with a little bit of sugar, just a little, fat or protein do an even better job of keeping us hydrated for longer.
Yeah,
And I was like,
they were talking about milk being more hydrating than water.
yeah.
Which is good.
And so why is that?
Well, there's two reasons. One is it slows down the movement and the absorption. And so the water is utilized over a longer period of time. So it doesn't rush in and rush out. And so now, because it's over a longer period of time, it can be used and absorbed into the cells and utilized better.
Okay.
The other
So it's not
one-
like a quick flush. It's kind of
Yeah.
because it's moving slowly because of the presence of the other, the fat.
It's like the difference between a deluge of rain, 90% of which ends up in the storm drain system,
Right.
or a slow, steady rain over time that can soak into the ground. It's the same concept. The other thing is that in drinks that are not just pure water, a lot of them have small amounts of sodium. And sodium helps to retain water. So sodium acts like a sponge. It soaks up water and keeps it available. And so people can be drinking lots of water, but if it's just pure water, you can actually be dehydrated in parts of your body that need more water.
That's funny. Real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that makes sense because I remember when I was talking about working on the trucks, a couple of guys would keep salt on them.
Yeah.
And they would try to give me salt when that I would feel it start to come on. At that point, it was a little too late. But I was like, salt? First of all, God, that tastes horrible. I'm dehydrated. I'm eating salt and then drinking water on it. But I didn't realize the sponge-like properties of the salt. Yeah. So anyway, just an aside to that.
Yeah. And so water needs to, as I was saying earlier, needs to move. It needs to go into cells, it needs to move into the lymph fluid, the blood, etc. And it gets absorbed into the cells through osmosis, right? It kind of seeps into the cells, and it actually goes in single water molecules are just kind of dripping in to these little channels.
Okay.
And there are a number of things that can affect that process, and your sodium potassium balance is one of them, but also the veracity of the cell wall. So a cell is like a ball, and there's an outside membrane, and the membrane is keeping bad things out. It's allowing good things in, and it's allowing for the toxins to get created in metabolism to exit out and then leave the body. And so in order for that process to work well, the cell wall has to be of the right constituents, because there are numerous things that make up the cell wall. And you need good nutrition in order to build a cell wall with veracity that will work, where the osmolality factor of that cell wall is functioning properly to allow water in and out. And so cell walls have they have phosphatidylcholine, vitamins and minerals play a role in osmolality. And so a good overall nutrition regime of both macro and micronutrients are important for the slow absorption of water and the actual absorption through the cell walls. And this is important things to know. It's not just how much water do you drink, it's how much do you know about how water functions and how it gets absorbed and excreted, and how you need to make changes based on your activity, and also if you're sick. Very important, because this doctors and nurses always say, if they show up at the doctor and you've been sick, while you're on your way out, drink plenty of water. Okay? Well, when people are sick, they secrete water much more rapidly, mostly through your skin. So your skin is normally excreting 400 mLs of water a day. But if you get sick, if you have an infection, it starts to increase. And so you do need to drink more water when you're sick, and preferably drink the water with some lemon, cucumber, drink some milk, so that you have water that is acting like that very slow soaking rain.
Yeah, and it's funny that we talk about water and when you think about milk and it being thick and maybe not wanting to grab a big thick glass of water or milk when you're hot. But one of the things that, a couple of things I wanted to go over before I get into this. I won't jump right into that. A couple of things that hydration helps with. Bob gave us like the cellular version of how that works, but a couple simple things that if you're dehydrated and you don't know it, a couple things that you might realize, not having proper water balance can cause headaches and vision issues, right? I remember that when I would start to get dehydrated out working, I'd start to get a headache at the base of my neck. My eyes would get a little bit blurry and be thinking, okay, I better get some water. Water also helps relieve constipation and treat kidney stones, right? A DJ that I listened to in the morning was on the news. I was on the radio a couple days ago and talking about how he had to have a procedure to have his kidney stones blasted apart. Yeah. And I was thinking, man, you're not drinking enough water. Lithotripsy. That's what it was. I'm glad you remember that. I guess they send sound waves into your body, and it breaks apart that stone. And he was talking about passing the pieces of it and how painful it was. And I'm thinking to myself, you obviously probably have not been drinking enough water. And he was talking about that. He was talking about how, man, I've really increased my water intake because he drinks a lot of coffee. He's an early morning DJ. So he's drinking a lot of coffee, a lot of caffeinated stuff to keep him up and keep him going. And then, he was talking about how after he gets off work, he still doesn't drink a lot of water. He's drinking stuff like tea and coffee and sodas was a big thing he was talking about, cutting back. And anyway, part of that, the reason why we talk about that is because we don't really consider things that we drink like coffee and things like that to have a hydrating effect. And a lot of the times they don't, because that caffeine in there and the additional things cause a diuretic effect.
Yeah, it's a cup of coffee won't normally be diuretic, but people that drink a lot of coffee, 2, 3, 4 cups of coffee, definitely it's a diuretic. And so, a typical American thing is, going to drink some coffee in the morning. After work, we're going to drink some beer.
Right.
And both of those act as diuretics. So you have to be just smart about it instead of drinking so much coffee. See, people drink coffee, they think they need it to wake up, or to be alert. But there's much better ways to be alert.
Speaking of.
And to be alert, you really want to, instead of constricting your blood vessels,
which is what it does.
Yeah, so coffee will act as a vasoconstrictor. And so your heart starts to beat faster when you drink coffee or tea.
Right.
Unless it's decaf. Your heart will start to beat faster, push blood more, and you get this sensation of having more energy, more alertness, right? What would be better to do would be to drink a nutrient drink that would actually make your heart beat slower, but would make it contract more deeply and expand more deeply, is ejection fraction, which would pump even more blood and would make you feel even more alert. And that's what people can get, certainly from drinking Boomer Boost. That's the effect Boomer Boost has. So when we hear how many thousands of people have told us, oh, I got a lot of energy from Boomer Boost.
All the time, right.
It's increasing their circulation capability because of the arginine is expanding your capillaries.
Right.
And in addition, it's increasing the efficiency of your heart muscle because adding CoQ10 and vitamin B1, B3, B6, and your heart is able to make energy more efficiently. And so it doesn't have to be as much.
Actually, one of the things a lot of people tell me about when they start doing this, they actually start drinking less coffee when they start using our Boomer Boost.
And then they're not as dehydrated.
Right.
And you mix Boomer Boost in water. So what you're doing is instead of drinking a cup of coffee, which can dehydrate you, you add 10, 15 ounces of water to your scoop of Boomer Boost,
Right.
and you're getting hydrated and your circulation improves.
Yeah. And, when you look at this, you're talking about arginine, and that's in here. And you're talking about, the other one was CoQ10.
Coenzyme Q10 and the phosphatidylcholine we talked about for helping the osmolality factor.
Yeah, that helps with the cell walls. It's really good for that. And, you save a lot of money. Coffee's not cheap, right? A bag of coffee is and then most people put, I hate to say it, I do it sometimes more than I should, put that creamer in there. That creamer is full of sugar, and it's not even, a lot of the creamer people get isn't even really dairy. It's like a fake dairy. And so that costs money. So, and it's not really giving you the effect you want. It's actually constricting your blood vessels. So actually, wouldn't that mean, if it's constricting your blood vessels, doesn't that mean less nutrients are getting to the body? Or is that just temporary?
No, it does mean that. But it's giving you the sensation that you have more energy.
Because your heart's going like this.
Beating faster. So
it doesn't help.
What's better, like I drink coffee in the morning, but you never see me drinking coffee here because I drink a small cup of coffee in the morning that's mixed with numerous other things.
Yeah, bulletproof.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
I add oils that are coconut and palm oil that's concentrated. So it's mid-chain triglycerides, which your brain needs.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I put organic grass-fed butter, cocoa butter, and collagen powder. I put that all together in a blender and I add the coffee to it and I blend it. And it's like a thick coffee that's brain food. And
it's
then,
like mud.
Yeah. And then also in the morning, I'll take my Clarity Factor and my NeuroFuel so that I'm ready for the day to be able to tackle the tasks that need your brain working. And so this way it's, and when I drink my powders, my Boomer Boost and barley with my lignans and probiotics, I don't drink it to where it's like sludge, right? So some people will say, oh, it's so thick, I can't really drink that. I fill it up with about 8 ounces of water and I stir it and it immediately starts to settle.
Right.
So I'll only drink the part that's still liquidy and I leave the part that's settled and then I add more water. And I do the same thing. And by the third glass of water, it's gone. And I never have to drink a heavy, sludgy drink. Okay? And it gives me more water. So now I've just taken in 3 of those 8 glasses of water they recommend.
Right.
And even before that, as soon as I wake up in the morning, I drink water.
I do that every day. I actually do that.
And then after that, I will drink my coffee, which gives you water.
Right.
And I drink my drink with Boomer Boost and barley that gives me 3 more 8-ounce glasses of water with all the nutrients that I need, including the electrolytes that allow you to hold on to your water that you're taking in.
You said electrolytes, so that's where I was going to next. So we talk about drinking milk, very uncharacteristic. That actually helps hydrate you better. What about stuff like Gatorade, man? Well, isn't that supposed to be the best thing?
It is, but you have to look at, and the article what we were reading is like, it's good to have a little bit of sugar in your water.
I agree.
Because it helps slow the absorption, but there's such a thing as too much sugar, obviously. So soda pop and sports drinks can have too much sugar. So one of the things that you can do is dilute them.
That's what I used to do.
Yeah. So just take a little bit of a sports drink and put it in 16 ounces of water. And now you're getting mostly water, but with a small amount of electrolytes and some sugar to help you to retain the water.
Yeah. I remember when, again, referring back to my out on the truck days, digging the holes, I, when that would happen, instead of drinking a sugary full Gatorade, the guys on the truck would take and empty half of the Gatorade out into another bottle and then fill the rest up with water and drink that. Drink that as much as you can. And I actually have to say it actually tastes better. To me, I don't know,
Yeah, there's
but
too sugary.
there's just too much sugar. Like they started making Gatorade Zeros, which is very similar to original Gatorade, but with about half the amount of sugar. But even sometimes with that, I want to dilute that a little. I mean, I guess that's just when I also noticed when I got older, when I was younger, I didn't mind that much. But when I got older, it's like, oh my God, that's super sweet. I don't know. They say your taste buds change every 7 years. So I guess that was right around 35. I noticed that. So it was five changes in.
Yeah.
It's starting to be like, wow, man, it's like almost too much sugary sweetness for something that's supposed to be hydrating. And so anyway, if I do get Gatorades now, or if I ever have one, I usually always cut it almost in half.
Yeah.
I like the taste of it better, which is weird.
Yeah.
But another thing we were bringing up that I wanted to go into was the alkaline water. Bob, you know a lot about alkaline water, and a lot of people think it's really, really good, which there's benefits to it, but there's also risks to it, isn't there?
Yes. Yeah, too much of a good thing is not a good thing. We do have customers who had gotten really sick drinking too much high alkaline water.
Okay, we don't have to go into detail, but what were some of the issues they experienced? Because I read some stuff. I want to see if it matches up.
Yeah, the people that we talked to had gotten really sick metabolically. They were losing muscle weight and were having trouble keeping food down, getting diarrhea, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And it was not something that was easily fixed. It took a lot of time, multiple years, before they could get back to where they were before.
All right. Well, let's talk. That. So we know that's some of the things. Let's talk about. So what is it? I'm gonna just real quick. Alkaline water. Why is it such a big deal? What is it? What are the dangers of it? Alkaline is a property that simply means the pH of a substance is higher than 7.0 or neutral pH. All right. So if anybody has a pool out there, I have a little above ground pool at my house. Actually, I'm just putting a new one in. I took down the old one. I'm putting a new one in. So then the first thing I'm going to do is test the chemicals. And one of the things you test is the alkalinity of the water. And then there's pH, right? So alkalinity is the opposite of acidity, which indicates a pH of lower than 7.0. That's what this says, right? So examples of acidic substances include lemon juice, vinegar, battery acid, of course, whereas examples of alkaline substances include common household items like baking soda and milk of magnesia, and I prefer probiotics. But anyway, that's a different show. Distilled water is neutral with a pH of 7.0. However, the water you drink from the tap might be higher or lower depending on chemicals introduced during the treatment performed by your local water authority. I know a lot of people don't really drink tap water. A lot of people get bottled water, which I don't know if it's good or bad. There's plastics that you're sitting in and being exposed to. So water, very important. Where do we get a good supply? And is alkaline water something we really want to do? What do you think?
Alkaline water has its place, and some people do really well. The biggest problem that came up when alkaline machines for making alkaline water became popular was people were testing their urine with these strips to see if their urine was alkaline, thinking that this was something that was a goal they were supposed to move towards. But the fact is, urine becomes acidic, especially overnight, as your body is going through detoxification. You are excreting toxins, and they're going to be passed out through the urine. Those toxins by nature are acidic, and so you actually, when you test your urine in the morning, you want it to be a little bit acidic. So people not realizing that started drinking copious amounts of alkaline water to try to make their urine alkaline. And this is a problem because too much alkaline water makes it difficult for the rest of your body that requires acidity to maintain that acidity. So in your mouth, for example, is acidic, and you want that acid to help digest your food.
Yeah, that's actually the first step of digestion is the salivatory glands creating the enzymes in the mouth to start breaking the food down before it even gets into the
and
stomach. Yeah.
And so, for example, people will have something like beet juice. So there's popular nutrients are beets that are in a powder form, and people will mix it in water and drink it.
Mm-hmm.
Now the reason they're doing it is to try to get better circulation, because there's nitrogen in the beets that they are hoping will become nitrous oxide, NO, right? Not NO2 or NO3,
right?
But in the beets, it is actually in the form of NO3.
Okay.
So the ideal thing would be hold it in your mouth, and the acidity will actually render the NO3 into NO2, and then when it hits your stomach will further render it into NO1 or NO, which is nitric oxide, which then you actually can utilize the nitrogen in the beets to create better circulation. But most people drink it straight down. It never lingers in their mouth. So it's hard for the stomach to render it into usable nitric oxide.
That's interesting.
So when you're drinking beet juice, if you're going to do that, hold it in your mouth. Take a small amount, hold it in your mouth for 10 seconds, swish it around a little bit, then swallow it. You'll get a much better effect from it. Now, and there's acidity in both in your mouth and in your stomach. What you don't want to do with alkaline water is drink it with your meals, because when you're digesting food, the food needs enzymes and it also needs acidity to digest the food. If you're drinking a big glass of alkaline water, it's going to change the pH of your stomach and make it so you have to secrete more and more acid to try to digest the food. So you want to stay away from alkaline water while you're eating.
Gotcha.
That liquid that the food ends up becoming liquefied from the acid and the enzymes, and then when it gets ready to drop down into your small intestine where it can absorb the nutrients, and a lot of the water, you will begin to alkalize that liquid by enzymes that come over from your pancreas. You will begin to alkalize it, and then as it drops into your small intestine, it's the correct pH for absorption. If it's too acidic, you will tend to regurgitate it back up. Right? And so that's why it's always good to have your digestive enzymes close at hand. If you're over 35 years old, that's the time when your stomach starts to change. Not as many digestive enzymes, not as much acid, and so acidic liquid ends up trying to get into your small intestine. You burp it up, and it causes this gastric reflux.
Yes. Okay?
Yeah. Now, what people will do to neutralize it, because it's burning their throat, is they'll take something that is like an antacid that's in a pill or liquid form, and they'll drink it. Right. Yes, it does help tremendously to neutralize that, but it doesn't get to the cause. So what you really want is you want that liquid to be able to make it into your small intestine, so that the water that is in there from the food that you ate, because there's lots of water in food, right, will actually get absorbed with the nutrients. Now, the pH in your small intestine is much different than the pH in your stomach. It's much higher and needs to be that. And then it changes again in your large intestine. And so there's this self-regulating changing pH throughout your alimentary canal, and you want to allow that to occur. Too much alkaline water at the wrong time, especially when you're eating, is going to alter that and make it more difficult for your alimentary canal to keep that balance from proximal to distal.
Gotcha.
You get an acid reflux, Ron?
No, I'm having a coughing fit.
Did you something went down the wrong pipe?
No. Give me 1 second.
Okay, go ahead.
Wow.
Oh, that's good. We have a door right there behind the curtain.
I'm going to take a second to cough.
Yeah, go ahead. So while Raleigh's coughing, I'll just tell you a couple other real important things about water. One is for your skin. So your skin needs lots of water. It's actually your best moisturizer, and it keeps your skin very supple. But also some other things is that having enough water makes it so you're much less susceptible to infections. And in addition, it helps keep your joints very supple. So people can get sore joints wearing out as they age. It's because it's harder to retain water as you age. The older you get, the lower the percentage of water that is actually in your joints and in your body. And so this is where it becomes important to pay more attention to all the aspects of water and how it is that your body will retain it by what you're drinking, the nutrients that you have, and all the factors we were just discussing become more and more important as you age. Good. And Raleigh is back after a brief coughing fit.
Holy crap. Sorry, guys.
That's now over with. And Raleigh, I was just saying that water is really important for your skin. It's your best moisturizer.
Mm-hmm.
It's also real important for your joints and to help fight infections.
Right.
And the older you get, the lower the percentage of water in your body. So a young person, 70% of your body is water. And as you age, you get older and older, it actually can go down as low as 50%.
Ooh.
And so as the older you get, the more important it is to know all about water and how it's absorbed and how it's retained and how it's excreted and why it's so important.
So when I had my issue with diverticulitis, one of the things that really helped, was the Boomer Boost, because I was able to actually take it down. It didn't bother my stomach. But afterwards, it made me a believer in digestive enzymes. 100%. The digestive enzymes are something that I use pretty much every day. Almost anytime I eat. Rarely do I not use it. It's great for breaking down, like when I eat steak or dairy. Really helps. I have to say, of all the stuff that I added to my total health system regime, which total health system is Boost, barley, omega-3, D3, and probiotics. Of all the things that I added in addition to it, the digestive enzymes really was a game changer, especially with my diverticulitis issue I had. I haven't really had any issues with it since it flared up real bad that one time.
Yeah.
So really love it. And then adding more water is helpful because it helps you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's very key for not being constipated.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly, as you could tell from my experience out in the heat, wasn't drinking enough water.
Yeah.
And so that didn't help, specifically with the digestion issue that I have. Keeping it full of water and flowing is key. So of all the things that I added, I'd have to say the digestive enzymes are one of the best things, especially you said, and I just remind people at 35, a lot of the things you normally create naturally stop, like antioxidants, digestive enzymes, collagen, tons of stuff that you create when you're a young person slows down. It's like the aging process, right? And so we have to replenish them. And being able to have good supplements and things like Boomer Boost, digestive enzymes, the barley is amazing antioxidants in there as well, with all the enzymes and protein amino acids that it has. Your muscles start to go away when you get older. You don't make as much muscle naturally. So you got to have stuff that'll help you to create that. And I have to say, one of the things that I couldn't live without now would be the digestive enzymes. So
Same for me.
if you guys haven't used them, check out our website, boomerboost.com. I got it up on the screen right now. Digestive enzymes are great. We got a lot of blogs about the importance of digestion. We actually have one. It's called Over-the-Counter Digestive Aids versus Probiotics and Digestive Enzymes. And it kind of goes into a lot of what me and Bob and I were talking about, mainly Bob, about being able to use these natural things as opposed to, antacids, milk and magnesia, proton pump inhibitors, because a lot of the times those things just tend to make the problem worse, right? Because what you really need is more of something to break it down, and you're inhibiting the creation of this enzyme or acidity, acid in your gut to break the food down. So it's kind of opposite of what you need. It just gets rid of the symptoms, but never deals with the root, which is what Bob was saying, which never deals with the root.
Well, I think that's probably about all people really need to know at the moment. There's a lot of other details about water. There's all types of stuff about structured waters. Maybe we can do a different program on that, but it's a whole hour-long program on structured water and how water can be wet and wetter and the osmolality factor and how it clusters and all that.
How do you make water wetter? We'll have to talk about that on another show.
We'll do that on another show.
It sounds like
we'll call it how to wetten your water.
How to make your water wetter and better for hydration.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But yeah, I thought this was important because it's summertime. I hope everybody has a good summer and stays safe. Always remember, drink your water. If you need any help with anything, we've got people standing by. You can give us a call at 1-800-861-4609. And
go to boomerboost.com.
Go to boomerboost.com. Check out our YouTube channel, which our YouTube channel is Boomers Forever Young. Our Facebook page is Boomer Wellness Network. And we even have another Facebook page called Live Forever Young Radio. So you can see the live shows there every, Tuesday and Thursday, 11 a.m. Or you could catch the replays at those places as well. But I apologize for my coughing fit today, guys. I don't know what happened there.
No worries. You're forgiven. May we all be forgiven. And thanks for watching Live Forever Young Radio. See you on the next show.
Stay hydrated, everybody. That was